Well, now it's time to recognize a person who made it possible to bring the America's Cup back to American waters. The guy who 30 years ago learned to sail the Berkeley Marina, and then won a bunch of maxi titles, a few America's Cup campaigns, and then next thing you know, the America's Cup is again, ladies and gentlemen, Larry Ellison.
Well, I guess the last time I was next to this trophy in regards to it changing hands in Valencia, I made a very, very short speech in Valencia. It was simply, muchas gracias, Valencia. And that was the 33rd America's Cup was an extraordinary event. It was a match, really a match between two teams, Lingy and Oracle Racing, and best 2 out of 3, and we're very fortunate to have a wonderful piece of technology, created by a brilliant engineering team, a brilliant team of people that built the boat, a fabulous group of sailors who brought it around that race course safely, and we were able to claim this trophy. So now it's my chance to say thank you, San Francisco. The trophy's back in the United States after a long absence, and we're very proud to be the team that are going to bring it back. There were over 150 people on the Oracle Racing team. There are design engineers who conceive the boat and design the wing. There are teams of people up in near Seattle, Washington, who actually build the boat and construct the wing, and of course there's the sailors there overseas out on the boat racing. But there are a lot of people behind the scenes, shore crews, engineers. Over 150 people make up the Oracle Racing team, and it was their diligence, their efforts, their brilliance, their athletic ability, led by Russell Coutts, that brought this trophy back to the USA. I'm very proud to be a part of that team. We're excited to be in San Francisco. We are a team that represents the Golden Gate Yacht Club. The Golden Gate Yacht Club, I'm a member of both the St. Francis Yacht Club and the Golden Gate Yacht Club. The Golden Gate Yacht Club is just, you're looking at St. Francis, just look to your right, there's the Golden Gate Yacht Club. Down at the end of the pier. But they have been enormously supportive of us since we started our pursuit of the America's Cup down in Auckland in 2003. And we made it to the final of the Louis Vuitton Cup, and we lost to a team called Lingy, a Swiss team that was led by the most successful competitive sailor in the history of competitive sailing, a guy by the name of Russell Coutts. And if I recall correctly, Russell only lost 2 races down in New Zealand in 2003. They were both to a boat called AC34, and it was a BMW Oracle Racing team. But Lingy was triumphant. They won the Louis Vuitton Cup. They went on to defeat Team New Zealand, and for the first time ever, the America's Cup moved to Europe by that great sailing nation, Switzerland. And again, I love the Swiss. They're good at tennis. They're good at sailing. They're good at a lot of things. But Russell Coutts, the Kiwi, who first won the America's Cup for New Zealand, heading up Team New Zealand, who then won the America's Cup on behalf of the Swiss team for Lingy. And it began to dawn on me. There's a pattern here I began to recognize. Russell Coutts is on Team New Zealand. Team New Zealand wins the America's Cup. Russell Coutts is on a Lingy wins the America's Cup. I had this idea. And I sailed a bunch with Russell and a bunch against Russell on the 5. And I decided it was a much better idea to sail with Russell than against him. I think the record speaks for itself. Russell actually could not be here today. He's ill. He's actually got pneumonia. He apologizes for not being here. But Russell Coutts has been our leader and organized this great team to win this trophy for him for the 4th time. And he's going to be our leader again in defending the trophy against. So I decided not to make the mistake of letting Russell go to the really bad idea, so sign him up again. And we'll be defending the trophy against a number of great teams. In fact, they'll be the greatest sailing teams in the world. It would be Paul Gayard and the audience. And it will be sailors of that caliber, the best sailors in the world, sailing the fastest boats in the world, in the most extraordinary place to hold a sailboat. I don't think people realize that the America's Cup is typically held out in the ocean. If you want to watch the race, you better get on a boat coaster. If you want to watch the races in Auckland, New Zealand, you've got to get out of Auckland, get onto a boat, and go to the Rocky Gulf and watch the races on the Gulf. You've got to be on a boat. So, historically, relatively few people have seen America's Cups. That's all about to change. Because we're holding this cup in the San Francisco Bay, the most spectacular natural amphitheater for sailing that God created on this earth. And hundreds of thousands of people will be able to watch these races, whether they're at Chrissy Fields, cheering on their favorite team, they're in one of the office buildings in downtown San Francisco. They're any of it. They could be over in Sausalito or any place on the shoreline and in the buildings around the bay. People who are lucky enough to have homes on Broadway can look out their window and have some Moet Chandon and cheer on their favorite team. But it's really it's going to be very unusual. For the first time, the America's Cup is going to be witnessed by hundreds of thousands of spectators because of this spectacular event. Also, for the first time in a very long time, the America's Cup will be racing in the fastest boats on the planet. Typically, the America's Cup boats, there were boats you could get. There were boats you could go out and buy that were faster than an America's Cup boat. Almost any multi-hull is faster than an America's Cup boat. Not anymore. These new 72-footers, which are driven by wings, will routinely go 30 knots. And if you're not easily frightened, you'll probably reach 40 knots in that crazy San Francisco breeze, where you get consistently every afternoon, you get 25 knots of breeze coming from the Golden Bay and flushing down the bay. It's going to be absolutely extreme sailing. Exhilarating for the sailors and exhilarating for the fans who are watching. It's a far cry from the boat I learned to sail on at UC Berkeley Yacht Club. I took a sailing class over at the University of California. They didn't have 72 propeller engines to sail, but they did have Lido 14s. Now, I don't think sailors are in the room, but the Lido, if anyone has Tupperware at home, it's pretty much a rectangular Tupperware container where you might store your leftovers with a small sail. About equally seaworthy as the Lido 14. I actually took it out underneath the Old Gate Bridge once. I would never, if God lets me back in alive, I will never do it again. Let me close unanimously to support this event in San Francisco. The mayor has been steadfast. I'd like to thank the mayor for his steadfast work in making sure this event was held in this city. He worked diligently, creatively, tirelessly in making sure that we felt welcome, that we had a place on the waterfront where we could do the engineering and build a sailing village in time for the event in 2013. And then he rallied all of the other forces necessary throughout the city to support this. I mean, really an unprecedented 11-0 vote in the Board of Supervisors. The mayor mentioned some of the many people that worked over the holidays to get this agreement signed. And now the work has just begun. There's a lot of engineering to do, there's a lot of construction to do, but in 2013, I believe we'll have more than 14 teams, 16 teams here, representing more than a dozen countries from around the world, contesting for the oldest trophy in sport, the America's Cup, which is at last here.